Welcome to One More Today. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue unpacking shelter-related Chinese characters. This mian, this cover with the chimney, is the shelter we're talking about. And today, underneath it is shi. This character, we don't use it much on its own anymore because we have another character that replaced the meaning of it. This shi was Chinese ancient pig character, and today we have a zhu, so we no longer use this. It only exists in some set expressions. Well, this is shi. However, when this shi is placed under mian, altogether they sound jia. So apparently this is not a sound maker. The top of the roof is definitely the meaning maker. To have a home, you have to first have the roof. However, why pig? What makes having a pig or multiple pigs under the roof actually give you home? That we have to look back to ancient times, living conditions. Well, first off, pigs smell bad. I know some of us may pass a big cattle farm and really strong smell. So I don't even know in ancient times if it is actually true that households have pig farm, like instead of having it a separate barn, hold it within your household. And that seems almost hygienically also not the best setup. However, we do have this pig have under the roof imagery without going into details of exactly how it's set up. Like, do we have like a 2 floors, the pigs living underground, like under the floor, and the humans live above it? What's the living condition set up without going into detail? Because yeah, that's a whole another discovery. Just the significance of pigs. And Chinese or East Asian, probably. Well, I cannot speak to Korean or Japanese if that's the case. But definitely, when I grew up, pig meat is one of the most frequent. Probably besides chicken probably is the number one, and then pig is number 2, something like that. The intake of pig versus beef, so pork versus beef versus lamb. When I grew up, the pork is the number one among the, besides chicken, okay, the number one meat source. So it's kind of hypothesizing in ancient times, probably beef and lamb were harder to come by versus pig, probably one of the most easier to raise and domesticated. So it's almost like every household. After we settle down to become agrarian society, after we settle down, we no longer go out and hunt for meat, right? For animal food. When we start to have animal farm, then pig meat probably was the easiest one and common one. So having pig, the meat source, I guess back then the commerce or business or capital work or trade was not set up as today. So raising pigs have to be individual household effort. So have secure protein source in the form of pig under the shelter. So that means food and shelter security. Of course, out there will be a allotted farm for the family. So you have the crops growing as well as pigs raising, and that way you're covered the food source. So you basically be your own food grower or farm animal raiser. So back then, individual household have to support themselves to survival to way more, I guess, roles and tasks than today's super distanced connection to our food source. Okay, so that is the significance of the meat source, food, plus shelter, why it makes home, because it means safe and security. It's a long-term setup. So here, I mean, today's language user, when they look at this, they imagine home, right? Which is most likely some apartment building, most likely. Nobody have pigs in your side anymore. When you want to have meat, you go to the grocery or supermarket to get that. But this was the ancient food solution that you have to raise the pig on your own. And that's actually the defining, not some love story, but it's purely food-based survival, how you sustain yourself there and regard that as your home, as you have the food security and shelter. Together, that's the definition of what home was. Okay, 家事 compared to this pig raised under the roof. 是 is more about arrival, sort of like a destination that you get there, because underneath is a 至, like you arrived and then you stayed there. So that's kind of the destination. You, as a traveler, you already reached your destination, and 家事 together actually is a Chinese way for household in today's sense. That means the household have to be like at least 2 adults. I guess ancient version doesn't have the diversity we have today. So assuming ancient version, that's husband and wife, right? And from woman's point of view, it will be considered as the home as 家, the pig involved, the food involved, versus 是, for husband's point of view, husband would regard home more of 是, like arrived. I guess in Chinese, we have this concept of for husband to feel established, to feel a grown man, basically, you need to establish living quarters and have the sense of arrival you achieved. You kind of crossed the finish line of what's expected of being the husband or grown man role. Then that's the arrival imagery. So that's 2 different point of view, gendered point of view, the food security versus the achievement, accomplishment for men. Okay, 出家, exit or leaving home. What does that mean? Leaving home is a specific term in Chinese that means that you disfranchised from whole economy and society fabric. You get out of home, get rid of your identity labels as somebody's child or somebody's husband or wife or siblings. You just sign out and you become a monk or a nun. So that's what 出家 is. It's probably involves literally leaving, departing from home to some faraway mountains and temples, monasteries, spend the rest of the life. So that's 出家. 百家, 100 homes. Well, Chinese often say we have 100 home or family names. Of course, it's more than, not exact 100, but that's roughly the scale. We have roughly 100 different last names. You may see tons of Wangs or Ma's, pretty high frequency reoccurring last Chinese family names out there. Or like Elisa Liu, this year's ice skate champion in Olympic game. That's Chinese last name also commonly seen, Liu, Liu. So this is another difference than the English ones. And the English got so many, I don't know, like anybody counted like how many last name varieties out there in English versus Chinese last names is only in the hundreds. So I bet it's like magnitude, multiple magnitudes difference compared with English. All right, so here we have a home view, and I guess instead of a pig, I mean somebody do have take pig as pet, but here we have dog. This is a common family setup view here that define our contemporary sense of home. There we go. Thank you for your time. See you another day.